So guys, I wanted to make a video about something that does not matter at all. This is just a Dragon Ball fan nitpicking about shit because he doesn't have anything better to do with himself. So, let's talk about Kefla. Oh boy. There's a part of Kefla's body that I think is strange and no one seems to be talking about it. I just found it weird. I just found it strange. So let's talk about it. Which part of Kefla's body am I talking about? I'm talking about her head. Which part of her head? Her face. Which part of her face? Her eyes. There's something strange about Kefla's eyes, and in order to make you guys understand, I'm gonna have to go back to Dragon Ball. Now, check this out. This is Goku. Look at the way his eyes are drawn. His eyes are very round, but the image, the circle isn't finished. It stops. But the eye is still there. The rest of the eye is still there. So it's odd. Unfinished. They didn't bother drawing an entire circle. Now when Goku gets older, the shape of his eye still it changes a little bit, but the same thing happens. The shape isn't finished. They sort of just stop drawing the eye and they just leave the rest of the eye there. Now this is Goku when he's relatively happy. We need to take a look at Goku when has a bit more of a fierce look on his face. So here we have Goku with his eyebrows down. He's still smirking. His eyes are a bit more angular. And yet, look. The line is still unfinished, leaving the rest of his eye just there. They don't finish drawing the eye. Now, interestingly enough, Goku isn't the only character that has this artistic style choice. Krillin has similar eyes to Goku. The only difference is the coloring. Krillin's eyes aren't colored. His skin is just there. Like, it's the color of his eyes. His skin matches the color. It's really weird. But, ignoring the coloring choices, the way his eyes are drawn are pretty much the same as Goku. They're opened and unfinished. Now, when looking at characters with eyes like this, it gives you a sense of goodness, of calmness. These are good-hearted characters that probably aren't bad to be, that you probably wouldn't mind being around. You know what I mean? They're the good guys. They have to feel that way. Now we have to flip the script a little bit and look at some other members of the Z Fighters, like Piccolo. Piccolo's eyes are drawn completely different than the way Goku and Krillin's eyes are drawn. They're sharp, they're angular, and they're closed. The drawing of the eye is complete. There's no open edges. It's just closed. It's a complete shape. The same can be said about Vegeta. The same eyes as Piccolo. So why is it that Piccolo and Vegeta have these eyes? Well, unlike the other Z Fighters, these characters are a bit more intimidating, although they're good guys. And surprisingly enough, or funnily enough should I say, these two characters both started off as villains. So comparing them to other villains isn't out of the question. And by doing so, we can see that their eyes are drawn exactly the same as other villains in the series. Like Perfect Cell, for example. His eyes are drawn sharp and angular and they're closed, just like Piccolo and Vegeta. If you guys are doubting that it's a villain thing, let's go back to Goku and let's say base Goku as a villain. Goku Black. Basically Goku's body, look at his eyes. Completely different, sharp and closed. This is base Goku. Yet, just because he's a villain, his eyes are drawn differently. But this is a bit more complex than you might think, because the Goku we all know and love also has sharp, closed eyes from time to time, and that is when he is in his Super Saiyan form. Now, the thing about the Super Saiyan form is that it isn't a pure-hearted form. Goku's Super Saiyan transformation was triggered by rage, and it was stated multiple times in the series that the form isn't that of a pure-hearted one, if that makes sense. I'm trying to find the best way to word it. Goku has trouble controlling the Spirit Bomb when he's in his Super Saiyan 1 form, because in order to use the Spirit Bomb, you must be pure of heart, a good person, essentially. And the Super Saiyan form is just filled with so much rage that he's unable to make a stable Spirit Bomb. That's an issue until he becomes a Super Saiyan Grade 4. His eyes are different because he has control over the Super Saiyan form, and he no longer needs to be angry just to sustain the form. He's successfully mastered the first Super Saiyan state. Now, while his eyes are still closed in their complete shapes, I want to believe that that's because of the Super Saiyan influence. There's still some ferocity there, but he's not using it. But don't be mistaken by his calm demeanor. He could easily flip the switch. Like when he fought Cell, his eyes just go back to the sharp, intimidating, angry eyes. That ferocity is there in full swing. I want to say that the sharp, angular eyes are used as an intimidation tactic to make villains seem more intimidating, obviously. And I guess to show the ferocity in certain characters, if they are good, and if they have those eyes. They have a certain ferocity to them. But now I want to step away from the Universe 7 Saiyans and go over to the Universe 6 Saiyans. Starting with the first one we get to see, that being Cabba. Cabba's eyes are drawn completely different than what we've seen from Saiyans in Universe 7. His eyes are sharp and angular, but they're very slanted. So they're not as sharp as the other. Not a big deal. You don't get the same intimidating feel that you get from the other characters because his eyes just aren't as sharp. Even when he transforms into a Super Saiyan, his eyes don't change at all. They do slightly grow, but that's pretty much it. His eyes sort of do remind me of Frieza's here, so that could be a possibility. But other than that, his eyes barely change at all. Now let's look at another Universe 6 Saiyan, Kefla. Her eyes are pretty much the same as Cabba, other than the fact that, she's a female. So they're going to be drawn a slightly more softer with eyelashes. When Kefla transforms into a Super Saiyan, her eyes don't change at all, which I found quite interesting. I don't really see this as an issue since they are Universe 6 Saiyans, so maybe the way that they're drawn is just different. Fine. So her eyes stay the same. Universe 6 Saiyans' eyes don't change when they go Super Saiyan, I suppose. Let's look at Kel. Kel has a different personality than Kefla. She's shy. She's not confident, so her eyes are drawn differently than both Cabba and Kefla. She has a sort of shy demeanor, so her eyes are drawn like almost half opened, if that makes sense. The shape is completely different from them. But when she transforms into a legendary Super Saiyan, her eyes do change. These are not Broly's eyes. Don't be misled by the coloring of the eyes just because her eyes are white. Look at the shape. They're exactly the same as Cabba and Kefla's. And if that ain't enough, when she controls the legendary Super Saiyan form, that's when she really just looks like Kefla. Their eyes are exactly the same. So Kefla and Kel pretty much have the same eyes if you think about it. When Kel's not being shy, she has Kefla's eyes. It's a Universe 6 Saiyan thing. So when they fuse, naturally they have the same eyes that they do in their base form. They have the basic Universe 6 Saiyan eyes, which is quite interesting. So here's where the fucking problem comes. Why the fuck does Kefla's eyes turn fucking ginormous when she transforms into a Super Saiyan? Where is this coming from? Where is this coming from? There is no Saiyan in Universe 6 that has these rounded eyes. Every Saiyan in Universe 6 have, well, not every Saiyan, but the main Saiyans that we've seen, they have the exact same eyes. Her eyes are so full of life. They're so rounded. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Look at this. She's full of confidence. This is Kefla. She's full of energy and confidence. Why are her eyes like this? Is it her personality, perhaps? Could it be that her personality is just so erratic and energizing that her eyes are just drawn differently? Well, no, because Gotenks pretty much has the same personality as her, and look at his eyes. It has the same sharp, intimidating look as your average Super Saiyan or Dragon Ball villain. But then I realized I've seen Kefla's eyes before. And then I just want to ask Dragon Ball, why the fuck would you give her Bulma's eyes? I'm just curious. I'm just curious. Why does turning into a Super Saiyan give her Bulma's eyes? Those are quite clearly the same shape as Bulma's eyes. Now, there's some minor differences, like the extra lines up here, but at the end of the day, they're pretty much the fucking same. It's just something that baffled me. It really doesn't matter, and there's no answer to this, to be honest. So I guess there's really no point in dwelling on it. So since I can't dwell on that, I want to talk about another part of Kefla's body that happens to be actually far more rounder than her eyes. let's talk about Kefla's